All right. To anyone who has already joined this webinar, good afternoon. We're going to give it a couple of minutes to get started, but thank you for joining us today. Good afternoon, everybody who is just joining us now. We're going to give it about a minute or so to get started to let everybody join, but we will get going shortly. All right, I think we have a good group here. Good afternoon again, everybody. Welcome to the Clean Buildings Idea to Implementation webinar, which is co-hosted by the Maryland Clean Buildings Hub, also known as the Hub, and the Maryland Clean Energy Center. My name is Megan Lackey, representing the Hub, and I am going to be your host today. All right, so before we get into things, I did want to note that this webinar will be recorded and a video recording of the presentation will be available later on the Clean Buildings Hub YouTube channel. I will be sending a follow-up email to everybody who registered for this webinar with a PDF copy of the slide deck, as well as any other resources or links noted throughout the presentation. I do also want to give a heads up that this presentation will be conducted in webinar mode, meaning that attendees cannot turn on their mics or use the general chat. But if you have a question, and we do encourage you to submit questions throughout the presentation, please enter those in the Q&A box. We will be monitoring those and answering those during the audience questions portion of the presentation. All right, so let's get right into thing. I want to talk about, before I go into our intro and agenda here, just why financing is important, why we're all here today. As you know, whether you're subject to the Building Energy Performance Standards or BEPS, or if you're just interested in pursuing a project to reduce emissions, costs for health benefits, there is an increased demand across the state for building decarbonization projects. And what that means is that investments in measures and technologies that help to reduce a building's energy use and emissions. So to me, as a grant program manager, it's incredibly rare to find a grant that covers 100% of project costs. So oftentimes building owners, operators need to come up with some cash on their own to complete these projects and dip into their capital budgets. But we know that many building owners also have thin margins, and that shouldn't prevent you from pursuing a project. So that's really where financing comes in. So we are super lucky to live in a state that has a green bank that provides low interest financing opportunities to help shoulder that burden. And as you know, today the Hub is joined by the Maryland Clean Energy Center, Maryland's Green Bank, whose staff's going to be providing us with an overview of different types of financing products that building owners can leverage to help finance your building decarb projects. They'll also be sharing a bit about their procurement and project management services. So by the end of this webinar, the hope is that you'll leave with a better understanding of the Green Bank services. But before we get into all that good stuff, I'm going to talk about the hub really quick, some hub announcements and events. Then I'll pass it over to MCEC. All right. So the hub is a small but mighty team. Again, my name is Megan Lackey, and I support the Maryland Clean Buildings Hub alongside my colleague Becky Price, who is the program manager. You may know her not only as the hub program manager, but also the author of our monthly newsletter, The Blueprint. Okay, next slide, please. So you might be wondering, for those of you who are unfamiliar, what is the Maryland Clean Buildings Hub, also known as just the Hub? So the Hub is an initiative of the Maryland Energy Administration, and it aims to empower Maryland building owners to make well-informed energy investments in their properties by connecting them to financial, educational, and technical assistance, ranging from funding directories to vendor and service provider lists, building decarb planning guides, facility spotlights, case studies, and more. So you see there are some links in here. So when we send out the PDF copy of this slide deck, you'll be able to click those links to access our website, our YouTube channel, and if you are not already subscribed, our monthly newsletter. Okay, and I do want to talk a little bit about the Hub ethos, how we value partnership and education, and do outreach with all of our wonderful stakeholders here in the state of Maryland. So first, peer-to-peer learning. One of the most valuable aspects of the Hub's work is connecting our key stakeholders in the industry to help learn from one another. Peer-to-peer learning really allows us to share real-life experiences, best practices, strategies that others can apply to their own building decarb plans. And it also helps build a sense of community and accelerate progress just across the board. Also, as a reminder, the Hub is always here to help. We're designed as a go-to resource for Marylanders navigating their clean energy and building decarbonization journeys. So whether you're just exploring options or you're already deep into project planning, our goal is to connect you with all sorts of tools, guidance, resources throughout the entire process. All right, and there is really no single right time to begin advancing building decarbonization efforts. So whether you're upgrading existing systems, planning future renovations, or you're simply assessing whether your building's energy use, what that might be, every step really counts. So the Hub can help provide support along the way. And then last, let's work together. So decarbonizing our buildings isn't always simple, but collaboration certainly makes it possible. By working together, sharing knowledge, tips, key takeaways, we can definitely overcome challenges and pave the way for buildings that are not only more comfortable and energy efficient, also resilient, help reduce costs, and reduce carbon emissions in the long term. All right, next slide, please. So there are some exciting upcoming events that folks on this call may be especially interested in, as well as an upcoming program that we are all really looking forward to. So first, I want to note the Clean Buildings Hub First Movers Series. This series is a peer learning opportunity to showcase and uplift Maryland buildings pursuing decarbonization. There are virtual sessions that feature guest speakers who share their firsthand experiences advancing building decarbonization, imparting lessons learned, and answering questions. So upcoming on Thursday, May 7, we are featuring the Tower Companies who will be joining us. Their Director of Sustainability, Luke Lanciano, will be there to talk about their approach to building decarbonization and give a lot of good insight into what that looks like. So I hope you all join us. And again, that link will be included when we follow up in the PDF copy of this presentation. I did also want to note that if anyone is interested in being featured as a guest speaker in these First Mover series, please feel free to reach out to us at the Hub. Our email is cleanbuildingshub@maryland.gov. Again, I'll circle back with that later, but do not be shy about reaching out to us. Okay, so next event here, I just wanted to touch on mechanical insulation, covering what matters. This is a webinar we have plans coming up in June, specifically on Wednesday, June 7th, with the International Association of Heat and Frost Insulators and Allied Workers. also known as Insulators International, and we're going to be talking about efficiency benefits of mechanical insulation investments, as well as funding and technical assistance resources. We'll have a Q&A. There'll be a lot of good discussions, so I hope you're going to be able to join us for that as well. Last but not least here, I wanted to talk about the BEPS Technical Assistance Program. So the Hub is currently in the process of vetting proposals for the upcoming Building Energy Performance Standards BEPS Technical Assistance Program, which is expected to launch by fall of 2026. So this program is going to help building owners with properties covered by the state Building Energy Performance Standards with compliance activities such as benchmarking and decarbonization planning. So please stay tuned for more updates as this program gears up to launch. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to us. I do quickly want to note, if you are curious about learning more about MEA grants, loans, rebates, and more, there's also a link over to the right-hand side of this slide that you can access our page at the Maryland Energy Administration to learn more there. Just note that currently MEA grant programs are closed for fiscal year 26, and we're gearing up for fiscal year 2027. So again, make sure you're registered, subscribed to our monthly newsletter to stay posted on updates. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you have your phones with you, feel free to scan these QR codes if you want to visit our YouTube page, monthly newsletter, subscription page, or our updated Hub website. We really encourage you to explore and get involved. It's a great resource for anyone, any building owners, operators, otherwise in the state of Maryland. So we hope that you take advantage and reach out to us if you have any questions. All right, and then moving on here, before we pass things over to MCEC, we want to know what you're hoping to learn today. Why are you here? You're going to see a poll pop up on your screen in a second, and just let us know, why you're here, what you're hoping to learn, and get to know you a little bit better. All right, I'm not sure how long exactly we're going to let you vote. I hope you've all had a chance to select your response. And we will, without further ado, pass the mic over to the Maryland Clean Energy Center's Keith Wang to get the conversation started about their mission, offerings, to help advance building decarbonization projects, financing opportunities, and more.
Oh, there's the poll results.
Ah, there we go. A little delayed, but
Yes,
I like the results here.
it's quick, the answers. Thanks, Megan. We really appreciate that. And thanks to the Hub and the team over there for sharing all those amazing resources. I'd like to first kind of introduce everyone to the team MCEC. This is not everyone at MCEC, but the folks here that will hopefully be able to help you out with whatever projects or financing that you might have. So my name is Keith Wang. I'm the finance manager. I'll be joined by Ben Rupert, who's the director of procurement and technical assistance, Anmol Vanamali, who is our chief investment officer, Noah Wood, our senior analyst, and Simone Zimmer, who is our project manager for solar development and finance. Together, we ensure that Maryland's clean energy goals are backed by a solid strategy and access to capital. Next slide. So before we begin, I kind of want to talk about who MCEC is and what we do. So the Maryland Clean Energy Center was created as an instrumentality of the state in 2008 to promote clean energy and energy efficiency by acting as the Maryland statewide green bank. We have goals to bridge the gap between clean energy and the actual financing needed to reach them. MCEC is here to fuel expansion. We want Maryland to be the premier hub to help clean energy businesses to scale up and thrive. Our goal is to move the needle on new technologies and get them into the hands of Marylanders faster. We're supporting the state's economy by creating high-quality jobs and new opportunities in every county. Ultimately, we do this to enhance the health, safety, and well-being of Maryland residents. Next slide. So why clean buildings and why now? So why are we talking about clean buildings and why is the timing so critical right now? So clean, high performance buildings aren't just a trend, they're becoming a new standard. This shift is being driven by three main factors: rising energy costs, ambitious state policy goals, and an increase in market demand for sustainable practices. Many building owners and developers are ready to move forward, but we're finding how to accomplish their goals is the biggest barrier that we're seeing to getting these projects off the ground. MCEC is ready to support you through both the development and the final implementation of these projects. So our goal today for the webinar is pretty simple. We want to help you move from the idea phase to action. We're here to show you how to navigate that path with the right technical support and the right financing in place. All right. So before we move on, we have another quick survey, another quick poll for everyone, just to understand all of you guys much better. All right. Give it a couple more seconds. And then there we go. Nice. Good mix of people here. But I'm going to introduce Ben Rupert to talk about how MCEC can help your clean energy projects at this time.
Thank you, Keith. So yeah, like Keith said, it does look like we've got a good mix of entities and roles. So that's great, and thank you all for taking the time today. I know it's beautiful, at least in Gaithersburg where I am. So appreciate you all being most likely inside with us. Although if you're doing this from your bike or somewhere else, that's ambitious, and I applaud that. But we are glad to have a bunch of participants here. And so this first slide, I just want to talk about how MCC's Procurement and Technical Assistance Services team can provide support and who we provide support to. So historically, MCEC has been a small entity, and we've provided support to primarily local and state government entities in Maryland on projects that have already been, I would say, to some extent, maybe developed, and MCEC has been used for a long time as a really good tool in the toolbox of those possibly few who were aware. And so as we've grown, we've developed the ability to better serve hopefully the state in lots of different communities, lots of different sectors. And so we enter at PTAS, we can enter and assist projects in essentially at any point. We strive to be nimble and flexible and a low cost source of technical support for the state. So we can enter at any place, but most often we're entering currently sort of at step two here, which is the project design and feasibility analysis phase. We're working on projects that have really already been developed when they need support. And part of the reason for that is because we haven't had a lot of funding in the state, or I would say in general, for project actual development at the concept phase, the first block here. And there is some momentum to do that. There's a state bill right now, State Bill HB 119, which would give funding to provide navigator positions that would serve as an independent source of support for small local governments or public sector entities that don't generally have a lot of capacity for developing projects. And I think it's a thing that needs to be focused on whether or not this particular bill passes. So I'm being kind of long-winded. I'll move on from there. But generally, what we do in PTAS is provide project development, procurement, and contract management services. Next slide, please. Thank you. And then these are some of the tools of our trade. My dad would probably laugh at that because he was an electrician for a long time, 30 plus years before he retired, excuse me, and tired as well. So his tools were quite a bit more maybe physical than ours, but the tools we use to engage with clients and partners So a lot of the work that MCEC does is public to public, and so all of that work we can initiate at least through an interagency agreement memorandum of understanding structure that allows MCEC to work on behalf of clients, and that means we can do procurement on their behalf. The contract can then be with MCEC, between MCEC and a vendor on behalf of a local government, or we can, of course, collaborate with entities and partners, private and public sector, on their own procurement. And we can also do procurement on behalf of private sector clients. We've done some, notably over the last couple of years for higher education, private sector higher education. Um, I think that is all I want to say on this slide. Next slide, please. And so just summing this up and getting ready to hand it back to MCC's finance team and Anmal. The one of the projects we're proud of that we're currently working through is a relatively large, about a 2 megawatt total solar array construction for the town of Chestertown. This is going to be a design build project through which MCEC did the procurement, the RFP, the solicitation, and then also is contracting with the winning vendor on behalf of the town to do the final design as well as construction of this project. And MCEC has notably also been able to finance this project, which is a huge benefit to the town. It's a small town on the eastern shore of Maryland. Beautiful place. Hopefully, many of you have been there. My kids have been on the Sultana ship that sails from there. It's a great one for kids for field trips. But anyway, it's a cool project for Chestertown. And the segue here to my colleague Anmal is that we've been able to finance this through a couple of different MCC programs, one of which our C3 Climate Catalytic Capital Fund is relatively new and really leveraged MCC's ability to help this project move forward when it otherwise would not. And the reason it was going to stall was related to the abrupt termination of tax credits. Basically, the cash flow was crunched by some more recent, I'll say, federal policy initiatives is my diplomatic way of putting that. And with that, I think I'll segue hand over to Anmal, and he'll walk you through MCC's finance programs.
Thanks, Ben. Can you flash a thumbs up if you can hear me well? Great, excellent. So very quickly, the next couple of slides. First of all, thank you everyone for joining. My name is Anmol Vanmali. I'm the Chief Investment Officer at MCEC. And these next couple of slides, I'll at a high level describe the 6 active programs at MCEC right now. The first is the MCAP program that I'll talk about next in more detail, but this is the program through which we provide tax-exempt financing for large-scale clean energy projects. The MD PACE program, which offers commercial loans typically to office buildings and apartment buildings in a unique structure in which the loan is repaid through tax assessments on the property. The Clean Energy Advantage program, the last one on this slide, delivers low interest loans for residential energy improvement projects with interest rate buy downs for the first 2 years. We will not be speaking about the CEA program today. Next slide, please. The next one is the C3 fund, or the Climate Catalytic Capital Fund, which is the first pool of money that MCEC directly managed. And this has a broad mandate to invest capital through debt, credit enhancements, and grants into a variety of projects. And Noah will talk more about. The Strategic Revolving Fund, which is an MEA capitalized fund, which is wholly committed to a strategic partner of MCEC. And we won't be talking about this fund today. And finally, the newest kid on the block, the Bridge Finance Facility, which was operationalized earlier this year, and Simone will cover that in greater detail. Next slide, please. Before we talk about the MCAP program, another poll. We would love to understand for the attendees in this webinar where you are in your clean buildings journey. All right, exploring, planning a project. Again, a wide variety of stages. Thank you. All right, so MCAP. MCAP is the longest standing MCEC financing program, and that provides MCAP program provides tax exempt debt financing, which is typically a significantly cheaper source of financing compared to normal taxable debt financing. While there's several details of the benefits of the MCAP program, I do want to focus on a few key aspects. One is who can borrow under this program, and second is for what purposes. The MCAP program is typically a great tool for state agencies, municipalities, nonprofits, and other public purpose institutions in healthcare and education, like schools, colleges, universities. And proceeds from the MCAP program can be used for a wide variety of energy projects, efficiency, renewable energy, and resilience solutions like battery storage. And as you can see, we've had significant success in this program, and several of our transactions have taken place on university campuses and one, my favorite one, which is the Baltimore Aquarium. So it covers the education and nonprofit sector there. So for these entities and those project types, MCAP financing is best used when three things are at play. One, when the project size is greater than 5 million. Second, when the borrower needs assistance in raising tax-exempt financing and does not have the internal capacity to access capital markets or bank financing. And third, this is optional and not necessarily always the case. A third condition that is this is a really useful program when there's a possibility of using a structured finance approach so that the financing does not appear as additional debt on the borrower's books. This is a unique structured finance capability of MCEC, and this can help overcome several hurdles related to existing debt burdens or borrowing restrictions for our clients. Again, there's several nuances to this, and we can delve into this in a separate webinar or one-on-one basis should you be interested. Next slide, please. This slide gives more details about a whole of MCEC approach that can be brought to bear to help a client meet their energy finance needs. Ben already referred to this on his slide when he spoke about the project that we are doing with the town of Chestertown. And as Ben mentioned, his team helped the town choose a qualified project developer and enter into a development contract or competitive process. And then the finance team at MCEC devised a two-stage financing solution to help the town meet their financing needs. First, as Ben mentioned, the C3 fund that you'll hear more about from Noah helps structure a bridge loan to help the developer and the town reach safe harbor for securing the full value of the investment tax credits associated with this solar project and kickstart the project mobilization process. In parallel, our team is now working with the town through the MCAP program to raise tax-exempt financing for the town that repaid the bridge loan, the $1.5 million bridge loan from the C3 fund, and then provide the balance $4 to $5 million for the balance of the total project costs. So from the town's perspective, MCEC acted like a one-stop shop solution provider, where Ben's team helped design the project, procure the services of a project developer, and then the finance team provided short-term bridge financing and is now in the process of providing long-term tax-exempt debt financing that'll help the town meet its project goals. With that, I will hand it over to Keith to talk about MD Pace.
Awesome. Thanks, Amol. So I'm going to talk about the MD Pace program that we administer. MD Pace was created to help commercial property owners invest in energy efficiency, renewable energy, and water conservation projects by offering long-term financing that's repaid through a special assessment on their property tax bills. And I'll kind of talk about three things: the projects, eligible improvements, and then the benefits of PACE. I do want to say that Montgomery County and PG County operate their own PACE programs. And then also there's a couple counties that aren't PACE enabled, and you'll see that on the next slide. But so for now, some of these projects that PACE can finance will be retrofits, redevelopments, new constructions, refinancing of recently completed eligible work as well. PACE is typically part of the capital stack as part of the entire capital stacks. So eligible improvements typically can be energy efficiency upgrades, renewable energy like solar, water efficiency improvements, building resiliency and storm hardening, environmental remediation, indoor air quality improvements, and EV infrastructure and stormwater measures. Now, the big benefits of PACE are PACE typically has longer repayment terms, so they align with the equipment life. So we've had loans that go to 25 years or so, right? And obviously that given the longer amortization, it's a lower payment. It'll improve the cash flow of the property. PACE is also fixed rate financing, so the rate will remain stable for the life of that loan. You can finance up to 100% of the project, that's the PACE portion, with no upfront equity required. And the other unique thing about PACE is that the PACE stays with the property, so it transfers with the property. So if the building sold, the PACE loan will stay with the property itself. All right, next slide. So these are the counties that are PACE enabled, and as you can see there, we administer all the counties that are in green. And then, like I said, Montgomery County, Prince George County have their own PACE programs, and then there's some counties that we would still love to be part of the program, but we're in hopefully in talks with them down the line. But just as a whole, since inception of the PACE program, we've financed over $150 million of projects that have been approved, including the single largest deal in the program history, which was a $26 million PACE deal that we completed in 2025. And PACE activity does continue to increase as property owners understand the benefits a little bit more. So our current pipeline for PACE is over $100 million. And sorry about that, Dan, if you could go back one slide, I can kind of go over example is that in that box there, there was a $3.9 million PACE deal that was part of a $29 million capital stack. And what that did, that property was converting from Class BC office into hospitality. And they were essentially for automated HVAC controls, high efficiency lighting, water heating improvements, HVAC appliances, and other energy and water use reduction improvements. That was financed through the PACE $3.99 million. And that portion of the loan was amortized over 25 years. All right, so I'm going to now pass it to Noah Wood, who's going to discuss the Climate Catalytic Capital Fund.
Thanks, Keith, and good afternoon, everybody. As Keith said, I'm going to be talking about the Climate Catalytic Capital Fund, also called the C3 Fund. It was created as part of the Climate Solutions Now Act of 2022, specifically to increase private capital investment in technology deployment and development intended to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and mitigate the impact of climate change. The fund received an annual allocation of $5 million over 3 years, and it's open to public, private, and nonprofit organizations with typical project sizes ranging from 300,000 to 1.5 million. In terms of how we deploy capital, C3 is flexible. We can do term loans, either senior or subordinate, credit enhancements like loan loss reserves, and recoverable grants. So eligible measures span a wide range: climate mitigation, GHG reduction, energy storage, grid resiliency, renewable energy generation, and much more. But one thing I will note that it can't do is invest in projects that utilize fossil fuels or make fossil fuels more efficient. So the keyword in the name here is catalytic. So the C3 fund typically deploys capital in the form of short-term loans, and that's by design so it can be repaid and recycled into new projects. So a good example of this, aside from what a few of my colleagues said earlier about the Chestertown project, is this example here on your screen for Clean Slate Solar. So the C3 fund provided bridge financing to cover late-stage development costs on 3 community solar projects on rooftops. This is totaling 2.7 megawatts. And MCEC issued a 500,000 loan over 24 months. And this small catalytic investment helped unlock 4.1 million in private capital mobilized and is projected to avoid 2,467 tons of greenhouse gas emissions every year. So you might be wondering how this relates to building projects specifically, which typically need longer repayment timelines. What C3 can do is fund the conditions that make those projects possible. That might look like financing the proof of concept for an emerging building technology before it's bankable through traditional channels, or supporting early stage feasibility work on a complex project that just needs the catalytic push before it's ready for permanent financing. So our application is currently closed for the C3 fund, but it's expected to be reopened over the next couple of months. So if you're interested, you can subscribe to our newsletter on our website so you can stay informed. And please reach out if you have any questions about C3 Fund or any of our other programs. We'd be happy to talk to you about it. But thanks for everybody for joining. I will pass the mic to my colleague Simone Zimmer for the Bridge Finance Facility.
Thank you, Noah. Hello, everyone. I'm Simone Zimmer, Project Manager for Solar Development and Finance at MCC. The Bridge Finance Facility, or BFF, is a short-term loan program for Maryland-sited community solar and affordable multifamily housing solar projects, generally 2 megawatts AC or smaller. Supported by MEA funding, the program provides timely capital for projects advancing toward construction and needing support for critical near-term development, pre-construction, and early construction costs. Eligible recipients include project developers, project owners, affordable housing owner-operators, and related project entities. Eligible uses of funds include utility interconnection applications, studies and deposits, engineering and system design, permitting and related fees, equipment deposits and procurement, site preparation and EPC mobilization, and initial construction and commissioning related costs. The program also includes several core loan terms. Interest rates are fixed at approval based on the secured overnight financing rate plus a risk-adjusted spread. Loan sizes are up to $1.5 million. Loan terms are up to 12 months, and repayment is structured as interest only during the term, with principal due at maturity. The BFF also advances important public goals. It supports community solar and affordable multifamily solar deployment, renewable energy generation, and improved energy affordability for low and moderate income households. A central requirement is that projects must deliver more than 50% of total benefits directly to LMI households and reduce their energy burdens by at least 20%. In conclusion, the BFF helps eligible solar projects reach construction while delivering meaningful energy cost savings for LMI households in Maryland. Thank you for your attention. And now we have one final audience poll. The topic is, next slide, please. How can we help? And the idea there is to let us know what webinar topics you would find most helpful in the near future. And thank you for your time. And after the poll, I think we're going to be doing a Q&A. So once the poll is done, that can begin. And there are the results. Thank you for participating.
All right, I think that brings us to our Q&A session. I have been monitoring the chat as we have been going through our presentation. We've gotten a lot of good questions in here so far, which I'm excited to see. Again, just as a reminder, if you have any questions for us, please don't be shy about going into that Q&A and submitting, and we will try to get to as many as we can. All right, let's see here. let's start off with one about MCAP. So one question we have in the audience is, what is the typical rate and amortization of these transactions?
Right, great question. There is unfortunately no way to give you a typical rate because the interest rate depends on the underwriting done by a capital partner. So typically, if there are two pathways under the MCAP program. One is the conduit pathway only, in which we find a source of capital, whether it is a bank or a municipal bond in the municipal capital markets, and the interest rate is set through a due diligence done by either the bank or the bond underwriter on the credit profile of our borrower. So we are just a conduit. Ultimately, it depends on the riskiness of the entity borrowing. So that's on the interest rate. But one thing to keep in mind is that tax exempt financing is always going to be cheaper than taxable financing. So if a university is getting a loan from a bank at 8%, then a tax exempt loan, everything else being equal, will be around 6.5% around. So that's on the interest rate. On the amortization, it again depends on the riskiness of the borrower and also in some cases on the expected what's the word, the life of the measures being financed. So solar projects can go up to 20 years because we know that's how long solar projects can be, but maybe some other measures have a shorter life. So the amortization depends on both the riskiness or the borrowing profile of the borrower and the measures being financed. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I do also want to tack on there, we had another MCAP question, if you don't mind, popular offering there. We had an audience question asking, if MCAP acts only as a conduit, why do we need to go through MCEC?
Right. Great question again. While MCAP acts only as a conduit, it helps through our conduit capabilities convert a taxable loan into a tax exempt loan, which, as I explained in the previous answer, provides you lower cost financing than the taxable alternative. For entities that are tax exempt financing eligible, but do not have the capacity to go raise funding because you do need qualified professionals to interact with banks and the municipal markets. In that case, for those sort of borrowers, we bring those capital raising capabilities. And finally, in cases where an off balance sheet financing transaction is possible, that is a unique capability that MCEC has. So, for those three reasons, MCAP acts as a MCEC acts provides several benefits to our borrowers. Thank you.
Wonderful. Great question. Let me scroll through here. And again, thank you to everyone for your participation in this Q&A. We have a lot of awesome questions here. Let's see. Let's switch over to MD Pace. It looks like we have one here saying that if I'm interested in C-PACE financing for my building, what's the first step I should take? And how long does the process typically take from application to closing?
So, first step would be actually to reach out to us. So, I mean, we want to hear about the project. We kind of want to know, and we have to make sure it's PACE eligible. So, I mean, reaching out to us to explain the project, to see if it's eligible for PACE is the first step. And then once we figure out from there, we'll kind of get you through a pre-application process that will really determine how much is PACE eligible. We can connect you with a capital provider too at that point. But the first thing would be to reach out, and then we can kind of go from there.
Great. Thanks, Keith. And I do want to add on, it looks like there is another related question. Can CPACE be combined with other incentives like tax credits or utility rebates, or do I have to choose one or the other?
No, they can be combined. So PACE is meant to be part of a capital stack. Um, it's I wouldn't say it's rarely the entire capital stack, but for the most part, it can kind of stack with other financing, and then, like you said, the tech credits or rebates as well.
Great. All right, let's see here. Let me go with a more general question. All right. What's a common mistake building owners make when they're exploring clean energy upgrades for their property?
Hmm. Um, I would actually say that they don't do the research on what's out there for energy efficiency financing, right? And they'll just either let their commercial bank dictate what they're going to finance and where they're missing out possibly on better opportunities and better lower financing for those energy efficiency portions of their project. So I think we get a lot of since the financing is so different, that just the understanding of what we can provide is always the biggest thing. I don't know if Noah or Amal, you have anything to add to that, but
Yeah, I mean, if I understand the question more broadly and not just about financing, then I would say in many cases, a mistake that building owners do is that they don't plan for clean energy upgrades and unfortunately wait for something to break down, and then they're forced to find a quick way to procure either service or equipment. So by the nature of the question itself, it seems like we're talking about owners who are exploring, so they're preparing. That's great. But a common mistake is building owners don't prepare. While having prepared it, one common mistake I see building owners do is work with the same entities that have been helping with their O&M, which is not always the best entity for long-term capital upgrades. So working with an owner's agent or with someone like Ben's team to help find the best contractor for long-term capital upgrades is the right way to do it. And once you get into financing, then like as Keith mentioned, working perhaps with the same contractor again on a capital plan for those long-term upgrades um, is the right way to go about doing it. Thank you.
All right. Great answer. Thank you both. Um, let's see. I think we might have a couple more we can get to before we need to wrap things up. Let me ask this question here. Are there funding opportunities to support workforce development projects?
I'll take that one. Yeah, not specifically, at least in MCEC's current program lineup. C3 fund, there is definitely some opportunity there. We certainly welcome all applications to the C3 fund, but I will say that there is a lot of focus on projects that support low to moderate income communities and underserved communities. So that's one thing that we really have to be able to measure when we're presenting these applications to our investment oversight committee. And we need to be able to show like how it contributes to greenhouse gas reduction and things like that that are really measurable. So um, definitely opportunities out there. Just some things to consider, I think, for applying for the programs, or at least for the C3 fund, is how the impacts and the benefits to the community can really be measured for us to explain to shareholders and stakeholders accordingly.
Great. Thanks, Noah. All right. So scanning the questions we have here, let's do, it looks like one last question perhaps. Can nonprofit organizations use MD PACE?
They sure can.
All right, short and sweet. There you go.
Easy one.
Yes, yes. All right, so I think we will wrap things up. It looks like we got to all of our questions here that were in the chat. Um, and again, I want to thank the MCEC team for being such an amazing partner, for sharing about all your offerings with us today. I will let you all speak to this slide if you'd like, but please, everyone on this call, connect with MCEC. All right. And then I think we had one more slide here just to wrap things up. If again, please feel free to get in touch with us if you have any questions. If you didn't get a chance to ask anything in the Q&A today, we'd love to connect with you. So again, reach out to anyone listed on this slide here. I will be circling back with all registrants with a PDF copy of the slide deck, any other resources or links that we talked about today. So thank you again. Thank you to the entire MCEC team. Everyone have a great rest of your afternoon.
Thank you,
Take care.
Megan.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, building.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.